Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I want to thank you for joining us. I find myself in an interesting and perplexing situation right now because I have reached that point in one's life where you wonder what's next. Why do I say it that way? Because, well, as I've told many of you over the years, I'm this age, that age, the other. I'm now 65. And now we're embarking on a whole new fresh start, shall we say. It's very interesting. And we have with us a gal who's going to talk to us, a woman who's going to share with us some insights into a movie that I think you might very well want to check out. I really would advise you to do so. And the title of the film, No Country for Old People. Now, Susie Singer Carter, I'm 65, as I said. Am I really part of that group of old people? Because I don't feel like it most of the time. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Here's the good news and the bad news. Like if on paper, or if you go into the healthcare system and they see on your record that you're 65, you're going to be considered a senior. Mm-hmm. And that's just the way it goes. And it doesn't take into account and it's just one size fits all. So you're going to be one size fits all, and you're going to be treated as such. And that goes for any of us in the healthcare system. If you're a woman over 35 and you're pregnant, you're considered geriatric pregnancy. Okay. And it doesn't matter if you're in better shape at 35 than you were at 25. Mm-hmm. It's based on paradigms that were created whenever. Some of them are antiquated and some of them are not. Too many are. So yeah, one would think that someone who is 65, like you and many people that I know, shouldn't be lumped into a description or a prescription for that age. But we are, and that's the problem. One of them.
Now, I am not going to be so dumb enough as to ask you how old you are. My question, though, would actually be prefaced by saying, or couched by saying, have you reached that spectrum? Because we have a woman here in Santa Barbara. Her name is Jeannie West. She holds the Santa Barbara the Senior Expo every year at our Earl Warren Showground. And I remember literally 10 or 12 years ago when she came into the studio to talk about it. I said, so when does one become a senior? And she says, well, it depends on who you talk to. It could start at 55. Could be
right?
60, 65, etc. Um,
Well, we get
are
our
you even close?
AARP. Yeah, I got my AARP. I have my AARP magazine that comes whether I want it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, and that and and so you have to take a look at yourself and go, okay, well my daughters are grown up and they have and one of them has babies, so I am of that age. Let's just leave it at that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely there. In many people's eyes, and that puts me at a disadvantage in so many things because we have an ageist society, and that ageist society has created or allowed to create this situation that our documentary, which is a nursing home expose, this is I didn't set out to do a nursing home expose in my life. I didn't, that wasn't something on my bucket list. But when I saw that happen, what happened to my mother when I was caregiving for her 3 years ago, and I said, and I, through unforeseen circumstances, was able to understand what I was dealing with. And at the tail end of our journey, I realized that I represent so many people out there that don't understand what we're up against in this caregiving space, in this long-term care space, in the senior citizen space, and how egregious and how it's run, and the business model is profit over people 100%. And you can't, and when that's the motivation, profit, you're going to have people that suffer.
Mm.
So, and that's what's happening all across our country. um and I'll throw out straight away, are there good places? Yes, there are good places out there. Are they the norm? No, they are the outliers. Does it matter that there's good places for those people that are in those good places? But
Mm.
we should have good places for everybody. It shouldn't be by you shouldn't have to be lucky to be in a good place. You shouldn't have to be one of the 1% to be in a good place. We pay for our Medicare, we pay for our Medicaid through our taxes. That those resources should go to you,
Mm-hmm.
me, all of us who pay into it. And it shouldn't be going or being tunneled away from you to someone else's pocket, to line someone else's pocket. I'm not, and this is not an anti-capital sort of point of view. Everyone should make money, and people that are owners of facilities should make money. That's how we survive. But you need to make a reasonable profit, not one that is hurting people in order for you to become wealthier than you need to be. And so, for over 50 years, we've been dealing with this kind of business model, and it's getting worse because our aging population is getting bigger exponentially because it's just the nature of population and our baby boomers and the gray tsunami and all those tropes that we hear that are coming down the pipeline. It's real. And so if we don't have an infrastructure, and we are not knowledgeable of how this system works, we're, for the grace of God, we're all getting older, and hopefully we don't have to go through that situation that my mom and millions of other people have gone through, which is neglect and abuse, um, and suffering and warehousing. And they've been warehoused, and that's just unacceptable. And we as a community need to understand how unacceptable that is, and really take a look at it, because we don't want to. And I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did la 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 for a long time.
Mm. Well, I mean, we're all heading in that direction. It's just the way it is. I mean, from birth, we're heading in that direction.
That's right.
And we can't escape it. So we do need to talk about it. We do need to address it. And I have to say that when COVID came around and we went through what we went through and so forth, I mean, I don't know if it's a majority or even for that matter, but I know that a lot of people, they had nothing but complaints over the fact that we were locked down and the this and the that and the pro and anti-vaxxers and the pro and anti this and that and the other. But I will tell you that one of I think many positives that came out of the whole experience 2021, 22, maybe even to 23 was the fact that we started having the conversation about mental health and wellness, not mental illness, mental health and wellness. So now here we are. We're now 5 years out. And thankfully, I'm still talking about it with my guests. But now we are also dealing with this whole other aspect of mental health and wellness when it comes to those who need caregivers and those who are caregivers. My mother, for example, she's 91 September of this year. My father
Hmm.
passed away a couple of years ago at the age of 92, almost 90. He almost made it to 92.
Oh.
And he is one of those who my mother kept at home. Whether it was out of expense or just expediency, she could look after him until the very end. The fact of the matter is that that's where he was, in their home. And a matter of fact, it was shared with me that, excuse me, that the evening that he passed, my mother and I think all three of my sisters remaining, and other relatives were there in the room, sitting on chairs around his bed. And as they put it, they sang him into heaven. I mean, what a way to
Hmm.
go. What a way to go.
Right.
But he was also diagnosed 5 days earlier with early onset dementia and Parkinson's.
Hmm.
And I think he made the decision, I'm not hanging around in this body. And following his eldest daughter's passing, he said to my mother, I don't want to be here anymore. I mean, I'm just tired. Well, I
Mm.
can understand after raising six kids, and all that.
Right.
And of course, she said, okay, all right. So what are you going to die of? Because he didn't have anything at that time. I mean,
Right.
certainly the vision and the hearing and the stability, but no dis-ease, nothing like that. But we're all headed that way, and I have to wonder sometimes, how do you find? Because I know the documentary, I watched the trailer, and even the trailer was good to see because you are having that conversation through this film.
Hmm.
But where do you find someone or some place that you can feel comfortable being there as you approach the time of your departure?
Yeah, that's a
I mean,
big
that's a big one.
question. Yeah, Richard, that's a very big question because, um, like I said, there are good places, but they are the outlier. And there are people all across I'm in Los Angeles. My mom was at a five-star facility and was getting severely neglected and abused. And I was there as an active caregiver advocating for her, and I still could not get her the care that she deserved and required.
Mm,
And so, um, you know, where do people go? It's a crapshoot, and at best, I mean, the rating systems are not accurate, as I just said. They can be bought, they can be paid for. There's the system has been gamed, as do most systems where a lot of money flows through. And billions and billions of dollars flow through our long-term care system that comes all through the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services,
mhm,
CMS. And a load of money goes through there and it's doled out per, billing and per quota and all the things that they base it on. And the oversight is non-existent. The enforcement of all the regulations that do exist is non-existent. And if there is any kind of penalty, it's primarily performative and considered the cost of doing business. It's very performative. So we have a huge, very powerful lobby, nursing home lobby that um, does whatever it can for the past 50 years to keep everything status quo so that the owners and 75% of our long-term care facilities are owned by private equity. That's a lot. And even the ones that say that they are nonprofit most likely aren't truly what you would think of as nonprofit. They are a corporation set up as a nonprofit under another corporation that is not a nonprofit, right? And the as we show in our documentary, the tiers of it. You've got the owners, you've got what's called related parties that the owners own. It's very much like criminal enterprise. So they own the management company, the pharmacy, the agency, nursing agency, so on and so forth. And they decide what the costs are going to be there, and they make them very high. And then they also own how many facilities that they own, whatever. These are where our parents and our loved ones live here, down here. And we can't get to the owners because they are protected by the corporate veil. So there's no transparency, and advocates and, experts in this field of forensic, financials have gone to Congress year after year after year and say nothing's going to change unless we can criminally indict the people that are who are propagating this kind of business model. That is, it's right now it's legal. It's legal profiteering, basically, right? So it's like that's where all the issues start, and then it trickles down to where our loved ones live. So the abuse and neglect come from understaffing. That is our biggest problem because that's the largest cost to any company. So you have, and I'm sure anybody that's listening who's had anybody in any kind of facility, whether it's rehab, hospital, or emergency hospital, the net throws way over outside of nursing homes and long-term care. They're understaffed. And why are they understaffed? Because by design. Understaffing is it's emblematic. It's understaffing, you will have neglect and abuse. It's just our caregivers, our frontline providers, our nurses, our CNAs, our certified nursing assistants cannot keep up with the load that they have. They can't on an 8-hour shift. They just can't. It's physically not possible. And so we don't know that as family members or loved ones or caregivers that, we come in and say, well, why's my mom been sitting in a chair for 8 hours? Well, no one, because they don't have time to get to her. Why is my mom laying in urine in her bed? Because someone told her, just do that. We can't get to you now. We'll clean it up later. And that's what's going on. And so so I want to say is that I'm not looking, when doing this documentary, what I discovered is that the people that we thought, oh, they don't care, they're not taken care of. No, they want to, they can't. And so many of our vocational caregivers are leaving the industry because they're experiencing what's called moral injury. They can't sleep at night knowing that these people that they've come to care for are not getting the care they need.
Yeah. Well, on the one hand, because we want to take a look at this from a little different perspective too, but on the one hand, it seems very depressing to the extent that maybe at the age of 65, even if you're in good health, at the age of 65, you're given a cyanide capsule that you carry with you. And at whatever point, and forgive me for putting it this way, but at whatever point you realize it ain't worth it to go on. I mean, because if I get sick and I end up in one of these places that is understaffed, regardless of how much they care, I can't live like that. My quality of
Right.
life has just dropped right through the floor. So popped a pill and just check out. Now, I realize that there are some who do that, some, but usually it's like here in California, we have, I don't know what it's called, but the right to die law of sorts, where you can do that without,
Mhm.
although I don't know what the heck it's not like, well, it's a criminal offense. It's like, really? So who are you sending to jail? Kind of thing.
No, I think in California it's you can have a DNR, which is do not resuscitate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you have the right to refuse food. You have the right to refuse any kind of medication as a someone who is corpus mentis and can speak for themselves, or have a directive that says that do
Mm-hmm.
not, if I get to this point, please do not. I don't think we have a right to uh, off ourselves in California, but I could be wrong. But it's not.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we don't. But I think, and I do think we should. We
Yeah.
absolutely should. And the thing is that right now, because we don't, and I'm going to assume that we don't, because I hate to like say I'm right, but I'm pretty sure I am on this. But I think that is where the system gets gamed, because people that should not be, their life should no longer be extended. They should be put into compassion care
Yeah.
and help to pass over, are often kept alive so that they can bill off of them. And that and now that abuse is disgusting and despicable. And then you've got people like my mom who wasn't ready to die, but she was too high maintenance. She didn't want to die. I'd say to her, Mommy, how are you? I'm alive. Life is great. The alternative sucks. She was not ready. When she was ready, I would have known, because she would say it to me, because she had suffered no fools. She would have said, I'm done. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And my mom, and because she was Alzheimer's, because they had let her get so ill, they didn't take care of she had a stage 4 bed sore when she was admitted into the hospital. That is emblematic. That is the poster child of neglect. You
Mm.
should never have a bed sore get to that level, let alone one. So, but they didn't want to take care of her at that point because it was too high maintenance. So, they wanted to put her into hospice where you get more money. I didn't know any of this at the time, folks. I mean, this is all learning afterwards, is that, hospice is paid for by Medicare. M- Long-term care is paid by Medicaid. Medicaid pays significantly less than Medicare.
Mm.
In California, you can make up to a facility can make up to $1,500 a day from Medicare in hospice. That's a lot of money to do
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do nothing but give morphine,
Wow. Wow.
and morphine is
We
cheap.
Right. We are talking with Susie Singer Carter, and the film is No Country for Old People. I want to talk about some other aspects of this as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. We don't want to bring you down, but what we do want to do is bring you the information that you need to have, because
Mhm.
this affects your physical, mental, emotional, as well as your spiritual health. And Susie also produced and directed the film My Mom and the Girl. It's a story starring Valerie Harper and Liz Torres, which deals with caregiving, assisted living, and transgender. And we also would like to just let you know that, again, this is a film, No Country for Old People. So that begs the question, is there a country for old people? Where, if we had the wherewithal to do it, where would we go? Where could we go to know that when we get to that stage, we know that we're going to be taken care of by people who do care?
Right.
Is
Well,
there a place?
there are places, like I said, there are places, but they are the outlier, and unfortunately clearly are not available to everybody. So until they are available, until the standard and the quality is a quality care, when the quality goes up and that is the standard that everybody receives, there's no guarantee that you're going to get that kind of help. So how does it change? It changes with community. We've lost community. Your dad was so lucky to stay at home that your mom could keep him at home. That's There's nothing better than that. That
Hmm.
is that is ideal. And that, I would wish that on everybody. But when you have a disease like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or, you know, another, respiratory disease that's all progressive, at some point it becomes beyond your skill
Yeah.
set and often beyond the size of your home or the size of your budget because it's expensive. And Medicaid doesn't pay for home long-term care. It only pays for in-facility. That's the way it was designed when it was designed. So they did that to protect themselves from getting the system gamed by family, but they didn't think about industry gaming the
Mm.
system. So now when you have a high acuity and comorbidities, and you must go into a skilled nursing facility because we are not, as family members, able to do what they do or what they should be doing. There's no other place to go. And so now you are in between a rock and a hard place because what can you do? And you're at the mercy. We're not even the customer anymore. Because CMS is paying for us with our money, but we're still not looked at as the customer. So we have no leverage. We can't say, well, if you don't take care of my loved one, I'm going to take her out. And they'll say, bye, go
Hmm.
ahead, take her home or take her to another place because they're going to get the same amount of money from the next patient that might or resident that may be less labor intensive, less, or it's going to take less resources. And less resources means more profit.
Well, I know that you made the comment at the front end that you didn't want to, you know, be one to be opposed, as it were, to capitalism. But what I'm beginning to realize, and of course, the film clip has been played over and over again ad infinitum and at nauseum, in regards to Gordon Gekko, greed is good.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting here going, well, maybe the basic principles of capitalism are good. But the moment that you involve human beings into it, that's when it goes right down the old porcelain
Mhm.
convenience. And
Yeah.
to that end, that's why we talk here on the program about looking for those new ways of living because the old ways don't work. Just look around you. Um, One of my guests made the comment to my statement about how we need to tear down the old institutions to build new ones. He says, no, 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 you don't tear down the old ones. You build new ones that make the old ones obsolete. In this particular instance, I guess I'm just not sure how you'd even go about doing that. And this seems to be a huge problem.
Right.
Was there in the creating of this film, and again, I
Mhm.
know you were focusing on the United States. I understand that, and specifically some of the places in Michigan. But did you do any additional research globally to find out how other countries um,
Absolutely.
take care of their aging or elderly populations?
hmm We did, and that's why I initially called it "No Country for Old People" because the truth is that our westernized, society, our culture is has been coveted and looked up to all over the world, and our individualistic society that looks really great in the movies and on our TV shows has infiltrated the Asian communities, Japan, Korea, all across where you say, oh, you think that I've heard it from so many people. Well, the Japanese revere the elders. Not anymore. Not anymore.
Hmm.
They're having as bad a problem as we are because we are we don't value. We see things in dollars. We look at value as dollars. And when someone is not making money anymore, they are not considered value. They're considered a liability, a debt. a,
Mm.
a weight on everyone else.
Hmm.
And so, and that is, the only place that I have found that has it down right, and that is Norway.
Hmm.
And Norway has exorbitant taxes, and but they take care of their elders in the perfect way.
Mm.
And they live a quality life, a beautiful life. It's done well there. And listen, I haven't studied every single square inch of our world, but I do belong to coalitions that are, the membership is from all over the world in uh, making change, advocating for change, because Australia, New Zealand, Britain, Canada, they're suffering so much there with the same issues.
Mm.
The only difference about America that I've noticed is that we have a lobby and most other countries don't. So we as a society, as a population, we are fighting against a lobby that is quite strong. And my partner on this project is a former federal prosecutor named Rick Montcastle, who, if you watch Dopesick on Hulu, he was portrayed by Peter Sarsgaard when he in his case against Purdue Pharma, the OxyContin manufacturers,
Mm.
and that whole debacle and the whole crisis of OxyContin. And he went up against the pharmaceutical lobby. And when I met Rick, because he had also prosecuted another pharmaceutical for off-marketing a drug called Depakote to chemically restrain our elder communities our residents that live in long-term care facilities, because it's easier and they're understaffed. And that happened to my mom. I had him on my podcast called Love Conquers Alls to ask him about chemical restraints. And then I found out from him that he had also federally prosecuted nursing homes for over 20 years and said that it didn't matter how many individual cases he won, the standard didn't change. And in fact, the standard, which is low, is gotten worse. And
Mm.
he said, this is not an individual problem that you're dealing with your mom's facility. This is a systemic crisis. And
Mm.
this is in 22. And he said he was retiring that year. And he said, I'm wondering what to do with my 15 minutes of fame. And I think I would like to do this documentary with you. And so that's how we got started. And so all of this information between Rick's experience and his incredible expertise working within the our political arena and our government and knowing how that works. It's all, corruption is corruption. There's nothing different about it. There's
Hmm.
money laundering, there's related parties, there's tunneling of money. It's all the same, it's all the same. Where there's big money, there's going to be corruption. So, uh, and none of us think of that. We don't think that this could be, how could this be happening? But it is. So when you ask me, where can we take our loved ones? That is not a question I can answer, because there's no magical resource to say this place is better than the other place. And, maybe there's a place in Utah that happens to be good, but that's one
Hmm.
in one state, right?
Yeah.
And not everyone can go there. And they probably are struggling because they are probably trying to take on too many people because they actually have hearts and actually care, right?
Yeah.
And actually are privately owned, that not by a corporation, and they're trying their best to do the best. So that's not fair on them either. We need to change the system, which is why when I right before we launched the project, Rick and I looked at each other and said, oh, we can't just put all this information out there and say, okay, bye, you're on your own now. We need some call to action, right? Like, what
Hmm.
can we do? And so we have launched a movement called ROAR, which stands for Respect, Oversight, Advocacy, and Reform for Long-Term Care. We're asking people to join, become a roarier, and roar for people that don't have a voice, that are vulnerable, are most vulnerable. It's not just old people too. We're talking about people that have disabilities, young people that have been in accidents and now are reliant on long-term care for
Yeah.
the rest of their lives. So, we need to change this system. And the only way that we can see changing the system and going up against a very wealthy, strong lobby is to do it as a collective and as constituents and to demand change. That's the way change has ever been made, are in any kind of issues that have prevailed, like women's vote, the LGBTQ movement, the Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter, on and on, the disabilities movement. That
Hmm.
we those things took the whole of us. And this is the whole of us problem. It's not just, this isn't like, oh, well, I'm not LGBTQ or I'm not disabled. Well, guess what? It's equal opportunity.
Hmm.
So this is a everybody problem. So everybody needs to just hold hands and go and say, we're not going to take this anymore. And our power, our currency is in being a constituent. And shame the politicians and tell them we know what's going on. You're getting your coffers, filled for your campaigns. You're letting people that shouldn't be in our legislature there so that bills aren't passed and bills aren't enforced.
Hmm.
That needs to
Yeah.
change.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's insurmountable. It seems like there's no question it's an uphill climb. That is true on just about any issue that you want to bring up. I think
Mhm.
that one of the other aspects of it, and this is just in my own personal research, it's not extensive, nothing compared to what you have gone through or dealt with, but other cultures down through the centuries before Western civilization became Western civilization.
Yeah. Yeah.
These other cultures and civilizations, they took care of. As a matter of fact, they revered their elder population. They stayed in touch with them in that they said these people have great wisdom and we do not want to
Hmm.
let them go. We've got to stay with them and or keep them with us and learn from them before they go.
Right.
And so they
Value.
wanted to
Yeah.
learn. Yeah, they had value, and they were teaching the younger generations about how important it is to remember and learn from history. Otherwise, we are doomed to repeat it. And I'd have to say, just in my own lifetime, it's unbelievable how many times things have been repeated, and they get repeated faster and faster and faster, whether it has to
Hmm.
do with conflicts with people within our borders or outside of our borders, whether it has to
Hmm.
do with our economic challenges and so forth. I mean, I still remember 2008. The statement was made, we've never been here before. So that would mean that you would use solutions that have never been used before, but they use the same solutions for previous problems, and it really didn't solve anything.
Well, because that isn't that the definition of insanity?
Insanity, doing the same thing over and over again. Thank you very much, Einstein.
Yeah.
We're talking with Susan Singer Carter, and she is highly involved in this project that we're talking about here on Tell Me Your Story. Again, it is called No Country for Old People, and we hope that you will watch it. It's available all over the internet on Amazon and so forth, and it's in recognition of. Basically, it is in recognition of the day the 21st of August, where, I guess you could say we celebrate our elders and so forth. So we hope that you will get a copy, go online and watch it, and we'll continue as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, along with Susan Singer Carter, and let's talk a little bit about the spots, the parts, the hidden, if you will, areas in our country and maybe around the world, but the ones here in this country not so much the specific facilities, because I do have to tell you, my wife and I, we're in the process of moving. We haven't been given much choice. The landlord wants the property back so they can fix it up and then sell the property because they want to get out of the rental business. And I got to tell you, one of my first thoughts was, because my wife's 74, I'm 65, I'm thinking, what if we, what if we moved into a senior center? You
Hmm.
know, I mean, everything would be taken care of. I don't know how expensive that would be and all that kind of stuff, but it just seems to me like that'd be a better place because at least, we know there'd be people around. But now I'm talking with you, I'm going, maybe that's not such a good idea after all.
Well, that's a whole different scenario
Sure,
too,
sure, sure.
Richard. I mean, that becomes like that you're buying into a community at that point. You're not asking for assistant. This isn't assisted living. You're going into a senior community, which is entirely
Totally different.
different,
Yeah.
totally different. And I mean, that I could see that be working out just fine, right? Where you would have a built-in community. It's like I think that's a terrific idea. That's how all facilities should be, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
But I would, yeah, I would, you couldn't throw those in the same batch at all. First of all,
Okay.
it's private paid.
Mm-hmm.
And so you are the customer. And when you're the customer, you have leverage.
Yeah.
If you're not the customer, you are at the mercy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that is not a good position to be in,
No, not at all. Not at all.
right?
So obviously, I don't think we would want to go into a nursing home because we're not, I don't think we'd be eligible anyway, because we're actually doing pretty well.
No,
But
no,
I
no,
know,
you wouldn't. I mean, you're only going to go if you're ill and you need 24-hour care.
right.
That's what a nursing home does. Assisted living is like, if you are pretty independent, but you have, say, memory loss. And so, you go there because they will help with your meds. They'll help remind you to take a shower. They'll keep an eye on you so you don't get lost. So those are the kinds of times you need assisted living, or maybe you are wheelchair bound. And so you need somebody to help you bathe and all those kinds of things, take you to appointments. And those, now we're getting into a little shady area.
Mm-hmm.
Even though assisted living is paid for privately, there are no regulations. And now you're talking about being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you are vulnerable, that's a problem
Yeah.
because you're dependent on other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think it's important for people to make themselves aware of the different places and so forth. I mean, we're looking at I don't know what's happening, but we're looking at buying a house for the second time in our lives. For me, the third time, and I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work out, and if it doesn't work out, I don't know what we're going to do. California, of course, has quite I'll call them liberal tenant protection laws, which is great for us. But by the same token, when you're talking about non-corporate, private individuals who have facilities or structures to rent, my heart goes out to them because they're just trying to make it as well, and they can only do so much. So it's not like I'm sitting here going, well, I'm gonna stick it to the man in this
Right,
instance.
right, right, right.
I
Yeah.
don't, I don't, that's not me. I don't feel that way. I do want to let you folks know that this film has been released in conjunction with or in time for National Senior Citizens Day, which is August 21st. So just celebrate the entire month of August, okay?
Yes,
Just go
yes.
right ahead.
And we also received we're very proud of this, a Gold Anthem Award for health awareness and impact through TV and film. I highly believe in storytelling to create movement and change. Like I just, that is a powerful tool when you can touch people's hearts. That's when people will get either angry or sad, whatever the case may be. I want to galvanize, I want to create emotion, and I want people to say, that is not going to be me. That's just not going to be me.
Hmm.
And,
Well,
that's that's what I hope for. And that's the only way we're going to change it. I'm going to go back to that because we do need to change the system. And I don't want people to walk away thinking, well, it's like, feudalistic and become nihilistic and say, well, it is what it is. Let's all drink and have a good time. We can change it. That's why we're here. That's a purpose, and that's a powerful purpose.
Hmm.
And that is more important than anything else, is to leave a legacy and to pay it forward and to leave things better than you came into them.
Well, that's what we want to talk about on this program all the time is making this a better place for everyone. Now,
Hmm.
obviously, we all have different definitions of what that means for us as individuals. But one of the things that I talk about quite regularly is community. We are a community, regardless of how many hundreds or thousands or millions there are, we are a community. And it's one thing to go off and say, I'm an individual and I'm going to do what I want to do, when I want, where I want, how I want, to whom I want, et cetera, et cetera. But even in our the preamble as well as the declaration, it talks about not only we the people, but it also talks about promoting the general welfare, which I think a lot of people lost sight of during the COVID period. They said, "To heck with the general welfare. I am more important as an individual than the community, so I am going to do whatever I want to do. I." But it goes on to say, "And to preserve the blessings of liberty to whom? To our posterity. Who's our posterity? Our children.
Hmm.
So you want to walk around with contagious tuberculosis and COVID and all of these other things that you could carry, being patient zero or whatever you want to put it. You certainly have the freedom to do that, but doesn't seem to me like that's much of a life to live. I certainly, and I will tell you that I tested positive on one occasion. I was more frustrated over the fact that I couldn't go anywhere until I tested negative than I
Right.
was that I had tested positive. But I took that, and when people would say, well, they're trying to usurp our First Amendment rights, I said, so what are you talking about? You think that they're usurping? I'm exercising my First Amendment rights by doing those three basic things of wash up, mask up, and step back. I mean, that was just, and that's me. I'm not putting it on anybody.
No, but we
All,
should put it on other people because here's the thing, as a
mhm.
community,
Yeah,
we have the responsibility, it's called integrity,
yeah,
to to be to do unto others that we want them done to us, right? So we have the laws that we have to wear seatbelts. We have laws that we can't smoke inside, buildings anymore. Why shouldn't we have laws that protect other people from people that are not are not, don't have the
right.
conscience
Conscience, yeah,
to care for other people. And
mhm,
so that's your, when you don't protect me, you're stepping on my rights when you
yeah,
don't protect me. I
yeah,
protected you, and I think that's fair. I think that, someone said to me online, and I find it a very base comment. They said, the nursing homes and the nurses don't owe you or your mom anything. Um, Actually, they do. They went into that business. They put themselves up and call themselves a nursing home, hospital,
mm,
rehab, whatever the case may be. They take in money for that job. And people go to school as a nurse to take care of ill people. Yes, they do
mhm,
owe me and owe anybody that is in their
mm,
care. That is such a skewed perspective that has happened. Of course they owe it. And if you say you're going to fix a car and you don't fix it properly and you take the money for it, you have that is criminal. You
mhm,
Oh, yes, you deserve to have your car fixed when you leave it with somebody who says I can fix it. This is like, where did we come to say that, like, we don't deserve anything? It makes no sense, and it really devalues it. It really does throw, it just takes community and just throws it in the garbage. That's it.
Yeah.
We have no community, and then we're just hedonistic, and it's basically anarchy. We're out there, one for one and one for one. That's it.
Yeah.
And how fun is that? How fulfilling is that?
Yeah.
It's not.
And I have to, and I remember as a kid growing up in the 60s and 70s, when we would play in our neighborhood, our block, we were running all over the place. We had an alley that divided the two sides of the block, and we would race up and down it, whether we were running or bicycling. We would play into the evening before this, as the sun goes down. We would play, uh, we would play kickball in my father's front yard, to his consternation, because we kept kicking the ball into a tree that he'd planted. But
Right.
we were all over the place. We weren't a gang, but the neighbors, all of the adult neighbors knew who we were. They knew that when it got dark, we were all going to be going home, that kind of thing. And
Right.
we had the greatest of times. And I realize that times change. I understand that. But that doesn't mean that we throw away that aspect. I will tell you what's the word I want to use? I got my comeuppance of sorts when I was with a friend of mine, and we were doing one of these stupid things where, you take a paper bag and you fill it with, dog droppings, and then you put it on the front porch
Put
and
on fire. Yeah.
and we did that to one guy only. Thank God there was no serious damage of any kind, but we placed it we thought it was far enough away from his car. It didn't catch his car on fire or anything, but he was certainly pissed, and rightly so. I never did it again. It's one of those learning experiences that I had as a kid growing up in the neighborhood, and so we learn from those things. Granted, but by the same token, the majority of the time we were there, we were treated respectfully by the adults in all of the houses, and they knew where we lived. So if we did something wrong, they go to the house. Um, but we also had respect for our parents. It didn't mean that we always did everything that they told us to do, because sometimes we thought we knew better.
Sure.
But I've learned that my parents knew a heck of a lot more than I gave them credit for as a kid growing up, and it was well worth learning. And
Yeah.
this here's now I'm learning from my parents. My mother, as I said, will be 91 this year, and I still remember many of the lessons my father taught me.
Of
But I think
course.
the greatest lesson I learned from my mother was in the caring for my father.
Hmm.
And I share this story quite often. We were coming home from my eldest sister's memorial. My father, he couldn't make it. He just didn't have the stamina for it. Plus, he was very emotional in that regard. And we were all standing around the kitchen table. He came in, he wanted to know where my brother was. Well, my brother's the jokester in the family, and he would have made a joke if I wasn't there and so forth. So I thought I'd be cute. And I said, "Well, Dad, I'm so sorry. We had to sell him to put gas in the car." Well, you can guess he was not a happy camper.
Hmm.
And he says, "When I ask a question, I want an answer." So I apologized for trying to be cute. I told him the story of, he's coming home later with so and so. So that evening, as I'm making up the couch to go to sleep, my brother got there before I did, so he got the spare room. And my father walked in the room, and he walked up to me, and he apologized for getting so upset earlier. Now, from my perspective, he was justified in being upset, considering what was going on. And I turned to him, put my hands on his shoulders, and I said to him, I said, "Dad, you are my father, and I will always love you, and we are good." And I gave
Mm.
him a gentle hug because he had that curve in his spine, so you can't hug
Yeah.
too hard. Gave him
Yeah.
a gentle hug, and he went off and went to bed, and as did I. And so when he passed away the night before, we were talking with him, and thank goodness we got video. He told me again that he loved me. He told me again how proud he was of us for what we'd accomplished and so on and so forth, which, by the way, I have to remember these days with what we're going through. And,
Yeah.
and, um, and I was so glad that I'm able to say to this day that there was nothing left unsaid. That's a part of this process, to be honest with you, that families need to understand if you've got a parent or maybe even an older sibling who's in one of these facilities, whether they are good or bad, you need to be there as, I'll call it, the moral family caregiver. All right. You're not there taking care of them, wiping a drool off their mouth or whatever, but you're there to let them know they're not forgotten. And that seems to me very important in this process. You can have the
Mhm.
best care you can get. In other words, 5 star, and it's 5 star care.
Right.
But if the family isn't coming around at all, almost ignoring the existence of a family member, that
Because
hurts.
it's too, it hurts, and often people can't because it's too painful for them.
Yeah.
I want to say to that that during COVID, which actually pulled the curtain back on how bad this industry is, because when you're understaffed and then the staff that you have are being quarantined because they're testing positive for
Mm-hmm.
COVID, there's nobody there to take care of the
Yeah.
residents. So the residents were put into their rooms and kept isolated for over a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And by 2023, over 200,000 nursing home residents died before their time, and most of them not from COVID. And what did they die from? Failure to thrive. Why did they have failure to thrive? Because they had nobody to talk to and no one to communicate with, to interact with, to have a community with. They were in solitary confinement.
Mm.
Nobody can live like that. You can't, that is not quality of life. Now
Mm-mm.
you're just keeping someone alive. It's like putting them on, on life support. That's what I said. I sent a video during the middle of COVID to our governor, Governor Newsom, and I
Mm-hmm.
said, please let us in for visits. Let one member in, because right now my mom is on life support and we're going to lose her.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
she wasn't on life support, but she was. I'm sorry. My phone keeps ringing
That's all right. That's all right.
because it's been over an hour. So I think my do not disturb went off, do not disturb.
It's all right. Yeah,
So yeah.
it is one of those situations where this aspect of living requires connection. I use this analogy, Susie, that the if it were if the good Lord had intended for us to each live a solitary life, then we
Right,
would be on separate planets, because I'm sure there are enough in the
right.
universe where we'd be master of our own planet. What's the reality? That we're here together. Now, again, I do understand this aspect of the quarantining and everything. I understand the reasoning for it, whether it was
Right.
justified or otherwise, to protect them and keep them, keep them healthy in that respect and not catching the thing. But it also shed light also on how unhealthy this population is,
Hmm.
because I remember it wasn't long after COVID that New York City in particular, had hundreds of those cooler trailers, with the
Oh
makeshift
yeah.
morgue, and they went back. I remember hearing about this. They went back and they began to go through each of the bodies, not necessarily physically, but in terms of the paperwork, to find out what it was that they died of. Not necessarily COVID, but what was it that COVID took advantage of?
Hmm.
Well, majority of the people who died didn't die of the virus. They died of complications due to heart disease,
Right,
diabetes, and so on and so on and so
right.
on,
Yeah.
which tells us how unhealthy our population is, because
Hmm.
our immune systems should be strong enough to fight it off. I mean, as I told you earlier, I tested positive at least once,
Hmm.
but I didn't have it for long. I mean, I tested 3 days, and after
Right.
a day and a
But
half
we're
or two
talking,
days,
but
yeah.
Richard, you're a healthy man. So if you go into a nursing home where somebody's already requires
Yeah.
care, extra
Yeah.
care, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and then you isolate them and then you don't, and you're not able to give them the care
Right.
that they
Right.
need. You are essentially protecting them to death.
Yeah. It's death protection.
Yeah, it's you're
Yeah.
protecting them to
Yeah.
death because you're
Mm-hmm.
protecting them from a virus and that as I said, out of 200,000 deaths, very few were from COVID. They were
Directly
from
from
failure
it.
to thrive.
Right.
So in essence, the risk of them getting COVID, and the risk of having a family member come in with the proper PPE that they wouldn't allow for a
Mm-hmm.
year and a half, they would have saved these people mental
Yeah.
anguish
Yeah.
and pain. And by the way, can I just say this, if this
Please.
doesn't touch your heart, how many of those 200,000 people died alone?
Oh my. Yeah. Yeah.
All of them.
All of them. All of them.
That's
Now,
that's a, that's a sin.
yeah. Now, one of the things that crossed my mind on March 17th, 18th, 19th, 2020, when we were being told you need to do these things, stay home, they shut things down. I thought, you know what? If we do this, if everybody will do this, we could be through this in 3 months or less. We could. And again, I'm not going down the science or medical aspects. I'm just saying it's like I used to say when I was in my teens about traveling when flu began to the influenza. You know how it sweeps across the
Hmm.
country,
Hmm.
and I thought, well, why don't you just shut down travel for a week or two, and then nobody's moving around, so they get over the stuff, and then we can get back to the productivity and the working and the this and that and the other. But people go to work and they spread it around, and the kids go to
Hmm.
school and they spread it around, and it goes on for
And
weeks and
on
weeks and
and
weeks
on
and
and
weeks.
on.
And that's why I thought what was being done in March of 2020 was the right thing to do. But unfortunately, people got impatient. They said, no, this isn't right. I shouldn't, they're not going to tell me what to do.
Right.
And like I said, I thought maybe, and I guess that was must have been on in an alternative timeline. That's all I can think of
Hmm.
in another dimension, where they did go ahead and shut down for 3 months, and then it was over. But that's hindsight being 2020. That's doesn't help us much. The
No, I
the
mean
film,
it's yeah. There's a selfishness that we have as like our right to. But when you call again, I said it before, if you don't wear your seatbelt, or if you smoke because you want to smoke, and I was an ex-smoker, so I get it. But if you smoke and you're impinging on someone else's good health,
yeah,
that you can't, because what your action is actually hurting someone else. So
hmm
therefore you can't exercise your First Amendment right. It isn't your right to hurt other
yeah.
people.
Well,
That's not a
you,
right.
yeah, and you live in Los Angeles, and I remember when I
Yeah.
was growing up seeing the pictures of Los Angeles and the smog and everything. And then they made
Yeah.
changes. They made changes to the automobile. They made changes to the fuel. And now I don't know about today. I hope you do. You have clear blue skies.
Yes. Oh my God, it's so much better than when I was a little girl. I think
Yeah.
about that all the time. I think about the fact that when I was growing up, I used to lay on my mom's lap in the car. We didn't wear seat belts. I could have
Mm.
flown out the window, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like we didn't know, and my mom didn't know. My mom, I remember, this isn't even that long ago. Like,
Yeah.
in the 90s when I was pregnant and my doctor was smoking cigarettes in in his office and
Oh,
saying like don't like if you want to keep like do you smoke? And I said at the time I was quitting because I was pregnant and I said he goes because that'll keep you thin. And I was like, well, what? Just my
yeah.
instinct told me, no, I need to quit smoking. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
the point, and I'm not a saint. I'm not trying to paint myself as a saint. It's just like using common sense,
Right.
right? And
Right.
if I'm smoking and someone's standing next to me and I'm impinging on them, or if I'm sick and I'm just coughing and I'm not caring, how is that being a human being? How is that
Yeah.
being a caring human being? That's not what we are. We're not even ants work together and bees work together. And
Hmm.
there are communities and communities without the tribe, you fall apart.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, it's all very important to consider, and we also hope that you will consider watching the film No Country for Old People. And
Please.
it's all over the internet. It's all over on demand. You know, you can't miss
Hmm.
it, I tell you. Amazon
Hmm.
would be the best place I would tell you to go
Yes.
to watch it. Certainly would do so. And if I may ask about the film, because the trailer, like I said, it certainly paints a bleak picture. Does this, and I believe it would be considered a documentary, correct?
Yes, it
Um,
is.
does this come out the end with some optimism and so
Yes.
forth?
Yes, it's actually broken into three parts because it was it ended up being 3 hours. So it's a
Hmm.
three-part docu-series that you will be able to uh look at it, compartmentalize,
Hmm.
digest it, um, and really learn what the system is, what you don't like about it, and at the end, we I call it the rah-rah section. I mean, I really bring in great voices that talk about the power of people and what we can do as a community and as a collective, and how to, and that I want to shift. Like my job is, I'm just the megaphone. I want to shift the collective conscience and
Hmm.
conscious and
Hmm.
say, oh, I didn't know that was happening. We got to do something about this. That's
Yeah.
all I want to tell people. I didn't know. I'm not perfect. I didn't know either. I want to share what I know with you and say, let's get together and help change this. It can be changed. They're making too much money. They can make money. God bless them. Let them make a nice profit, but
Hmm.
not an exorbitant profit, a profit that's reasonable and a profit that keeps people safe and allows them to utilize the money that they've put away and had removed from their paycheck, like you are all doing
Hmm.
now,
Hmm. Yeah.
and have it for them so they can see their grandchildren and share stories that are valuable and sing. My mom was a singer.
Mm.
People loved her. Like she was a force till the day she died. So who are we to decide when people are going to exit? It's not our job.
Yeah. The individual needs to be allowed to decide
That's
in
right.
that respect. We're talking
That's
with
right.
Susie Singer Carter, talking about the movie, the documentary, the three-parter called No Country for Old People, as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. Susie, this has been an extraordinary conversation, and I think that it's again one that needs to be the story needs to be the light needs to be shed upon it so that we can make change. Quite honestly, it needs to be changed because I'm 65. I would love to be 100. That's my plan, but with quality of life. I
That's
don't
right.
know. I don't know how far along my wife wants to go. She's 74 and so forth. My mother 91 and still going strong. Although when I share certain things with her, I can hear mom's concern in her voice. The strength kind of drops out just a little bit because she's worried about her eldest son. And I appreciate that. But she also told me some time ago, she said, I always notice you land on your feet no matter what happens. I said, okay, well, then keep that in mind here because we'll land on our feet somehow, somewhere.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, we should be able to, like, if you want to see a very uh enlightening, on the other side of the spectrum, and an enlightening documentary called The Blue Zone, if you
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen it, that'll give you an idea. These are these little zones all over the world where people live to extraordinary numbers of years,
Mm-hmm.
like into their hundreds, and they're healthy, they're happy, they have purpose, and they have community.
Yeah.
Boom.
I find it fascinating and sort of kind of humorous when you hear the stories of people who have been publicly eating healthfully, they've been doing all the right stuff, and they die at an early age. And then you hear these stories of these centenarians who, so what is it that you do that keeps you going? A shot of vodka and a cigar every day.
That's right. That's
And I'm
right.
like, what's the point of doing the healthy thing? you know.
Well, because right, because at the end of the day, what the most important thing, what is, I said failure to thrive before.
Hmm.
Failure to thrive is a powerful disease. And
Hmm.
it's not a disease, but it will kill you.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that comes, and that's mental. So when if you are mentally healthy, like you feel valued, you feel you have a purpose, you feel like you have people that love you, people that rely on you, people that are there for you. That's called community, and
Yeah.
that's called quality of life. And I have nothing else to say. I mic drop, and please, if you watch it, please go to Amazon's reviews, rate us, review it. It tells the algorithm, it says, "Hey, the algorithm, this is a really important project that needs to be pushed out to the public and get it outside of uh, our echo chambers,
Yes.
besides the people that already have been in there and know
Yeah.
all about it. Want everybody to know about it. So we need, power comes in number and
Hmm.
and information. So
Hmm.
please spread the word and say, hey, I watched a documentary that soup's important and we need to share it with you. So, let them know. I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being on the program, sharing the perspective on this subject, and we are so glad that you're doing this and
Thank
being a
you.
part of the work we're doing here to try to change the world and make this a better place for everyone. And it's just been a delight to have you on the program. So thank you so much for
Thank
being here.
you. Thank you. Thank you
I,
so much.
I do have three final questions that I ask all of my guests, and I want to ask those of you. But first, I want to thank
Okay.
you for listening to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for New World, giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times live at richarddugan.com with podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio. We're on YouTube where you can watch these conversations, and we hope that you will subscribe and click notification. We also ask that you go to Amazon.com and pick up a copy of Choices, 5 Steps for Life. That's my book. I hope you'll get a copy in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle. Audible is going to be released very soon, preferably on the 1 year anniversary of the publication of the book. We also ask that if you can leave us a tip, we'd be gratefully appreciated. The name on our tip jar, PayPal. And there are links on the homepage at richarddugan.com to both Amazon and PayPal. And finally, we ask that you take some time during this, the decade of perfect vision, to spend some time in that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with all of that, we now move to our final three questions for a very special guest. And the first of those is, who is Susie Singer Carter?
Oh, gosh. I'm just a little girl. That's what I am. I'm just a little girl that cares a lot, that likes to make stories and likes to make people happy. I'm a writer, I'm a director, I'm a filmmaker, and I'm an advocate, and I care. I care deeply, and I care about the stories that I tell. That's it. And I like to dance.
Oh, wonderful. What gets you up in the morning?
My purpose, my family, the people the stories that I want to tell. And right now it is changing. This long-term care system is a powerful motivation for me.
And finally, what was your best day?
Ooh, I've had a lot of best days.
Hmm.
The 2 times I saw my babies open their eyes, those are great moments that I will never forget.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget helping my mom cross over. Those moments are very powerful for me. So I have to say those are probably the best moments.
Well, once again, thank you. And thank you for listening and watching. And until our next broadcast, podcast, video cast, love to lull. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for letting me be in your life. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.